Thank you for tuning into another episode of Empower Her. I am Cynthia Day.
And I'm Maria Day.
And together we own and operate a luxury residential and commercial real estate company called Trusted Results Realty Group. We're right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. We're also in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and soon to be worldwide.
And in a galaxy near you.
What? So thank you for tuning into today's episode. You can find us on www.trustedresultsrealty.co, where you can find every episode of Empower Her on our website as well as on YouTube. And please make sure that you go to our Facebook page, Empower Her, as well. So today's episode is all about having it all.
Yes, honey.
And who better to educate us on this specific topic other than Miss Gina Echols.
Yay!
Thank you. She is literally the dream wife, living the dream life, and the ultimate business woman. So thank you so much, Gina, for spending some time with us today.
And super mom, hello.
Oh, hello. She's got it all.
Hello.
So, Gina, tell us, what does having it all mean, and what does that look like?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's about being a whole person or a well-rounded person. So it's winning in every area of your life, not just in business, not just in the family, but really winning in your health, winning in your wealth, and honestly, just winning in relationships and with your family, with your husband, who's my king. So I think it's just being well-rounded and winning in every area instead of just choosing one to be super successful in.
So how have you achieved that for your life?
Time. I think always being open, being coachable, being in a place of willingness to grow, never really arriving, and only being in competition with myself.
Really? What does it mean to never really arriving?
Well, I think you can celebrate your victories along the way. Like, you're going to cross a finish line, but I think never really arriving is always staying open to what's next, what's possible, and believing for more than what you believed for, say, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
So you'll never stop growing. You'll
Right.
never stop learning, evolving, and expanding your mind.
Yeah, it's like, I was thinking about this the other day. Someone had asked me a question about, like, do you get tired of going to seminars, conventions, that kind of thing? Because you lead most of these things. And I'm like, no, I love going. And even if it's something I've taught on for years, I'm looking at every angle of what's happening. So I'm learning the content because it comes from a different source. And so their filter, but also I'm learning, like, wow, she stood over there and she put her hands like this. And like, I'm looking for all the minute details to make myself a better speaker or a better businesswoman or a better wife. I can go to church and watch someone interact with their child and I'm like, dang, right? It's not how they showed up in front of others in a way of like performance, but like I saw her correct her child in a way that was very loving and kind on the sidelines, and I want to show up that way, not the mom that's like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Which, P.S. has happened.
I mean, no, certainly not.
So yeah.
What was the pivot point for you? So like, before having the realization of having it all, what was the before that? What did that look like for you? And then what was the moment where you're like, let me do an about face?
I would say, so my whole life I've been an entrepreneur. Like, we're talking hustling since like elementary school. Okay, so I feel like I've always known it was made for more. I always knew I was not going to go down the traditional path that most people go down. I don't know when that moment occurred to me, other than like I wanted something from 7-Eleven and my parents didn't have the money for me to have that thing, and so I was like, sweet, I'll go door to door and sell cookies that I did not own the stuff for, and I did not, like, I was like, we'll get the product later, let's get some money, I want to go to 7-Eleven. Yeah, exactly. So
enterprising.
yeah, so that's where it started. And then I came home and my mother told me, no, we're not going to make a dozen cookies for $1 because it actually costs more than that to make it. And I was like, well, we have a problem because I sold 24 dozen. And she's like, I'm sure you did, and now you get to go back door to door and explain to each person that you made a mistake. And I was like, oh, save face. But it actually turned into one of my greatest blessings because, one, I learned to own my mistakes. I learned to talk to adults eyeball to eyeball. By the way, I was in 2nd grade.
Wow. So you're 8? Wow.
And so just walking through some of that. So I would say, one, I've grown up in this world of being an entrepreneur in that sense. But I think the pivotal moments for me, I started a fairly successful company when I was 21, and I worked that for 17 years. And then as I came into health coaching, it came out of a need. I personally had 2 aneurysms and almost died. And so I think when that happens, you get this realization that, whoa, life is fleeting, life is short. You only have one moment. And then I actually experienced an actual miracle. And in that miracle, I realized there is something greater, bigger that I am supposed to accomplish. And it starts with my health. And so I started to get my health in order and honestly accidentally started a company. And I think I'm no idiot. And when I see an opportunity, it makes sense. So to get paid to get healthy made sense to me. So I was like, sweet, I'm in. Let's do this. And so that's kind of how I I call it happening into this business. Don't believe anything happens on accident, but that's what I would say. That was my pivotal shift of like, wow. And then to recognize the vehicle that I stepped into, all the years of experience that I'd had through my other companies, this was like all a setup for these things. So all the failures, all the things that didn't quite go the way I wanted, all the successes, they were just setups. And I went to school to be a nutritionist, but never fully finished because I decided I wanted to be a mom. But then I started a company and then I was making more money than nutritionists made, so it never made sense to continue on. And so I look back and then fast forward and I'm like, wow, if I hadn't had that first love and then saw how to build a business and then I'm able to marry the two all these years later, look at how each step of the pathway unwound and brought me to where I am.
What are your portfolio of pillars that you hold in your life? Like, okay, your health, your wealth, your relationships. What does your portfolio encompass?
So I would say health for me, because what I realized when I almost died was without good health, it doesn't matter how successful you are or how much money you have, it's going to be a horrible life or you're not going to be here to enjoy it. So health became a huge priority to me. My spiritual life is a huge priority to me. My family, huge priority to me. I truly believe, while I love all the friends that I have, I truly believe at the end of my days, the people, my direct family, my children, my husband, that's who's going to be there. And so that's who I impact the most. That's who I lead, and who are going to make a difference in the world. I can directly impact them. So that's a huge deal to me. And from there, then it's business, adventure. We love adventure like no other. So, and then I love philanthropy, and I love being able to give and make a difference in the world. And I truly believe that the wealth that we have has come out of the abundance of the combination of all of those things.
How did you crystallize your vision of those pillars? You know what I mean? Like, what were some how did you get to the point where like, you know what, I want this out of my philanthropy pillar? Like, how did you filter your philanthropy pillar, for example?
I will say, like, some of it started out of sheer obedience, right? So it was obedience of like, I'm going to give 10%.
Yeah.
And when I had little, I gave 10%. When I have a lot, I give 10%. So I came from this place of watching my wealth grow by being obedient in that. It also feels good, don't you think? Like, I just think it feels so good. And that energy that it brings to me is so valuable. And so that's kind of where it started for me. And through the years, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. As you need less and less of your income, the easier it is to give and to bless and to watch others be changed and grow. So every year we set out, like this time of year, the next 3 weeks, we will spend time just really meditating on like, where do we want to give in the next year, we're gonna give. Where do we want to give? What do we want that to look like? And then almost always it ends up being like throw up worthy giving. Like, oh, this is crazy. Like, that can't be possible. But sure enough, by the end of the year, we've created enough income. But that's how I work. That's what gets me excited, is giving and changing the world. And so like building wells and helping orphans and helping, widowed women and stay-at-home mamas and like single mamas. So like those are the things that get me excited. So then, and foster kids too is a really big one this year for us. So then I'm going, okay, well, how much, if I want to give at that level, how much income do I need to create in order to give at that level? And so I kind of reverse engineer then my year based on what I want to give.
Right. So what I think I'm hearing you say, Gina, is that it just starts off with something basic. Be still and meditate. What is this? And you go through your pillars of things, and I would assume you do that with your king. You
Well,
know,
it's so funny.
or-
We do it individually
Okay.
because we are individuals very much, but we are one. And so typically we will both do it individually, and then we'll come together and be like, hey, this is the crazy that popped up into my heart, but popped into your heart. And so we do that on a retreat and come together, and then that's kind of how we lay out our year based on all of that.
That's really cool.
So when do you guys go on your retreats?
It varies because of the kids. We have 7 kids, by the way.
I love it.
So it just depends on the seasons. Sometimes it's like we're going to get away for 3 weeks upcoming. The kids are coming with us, and so we'll just steal away a weekend while they're hanging with their older sister and just sit down. Sometimes it's over coffee, and it's just a dream date where we're like, man, if we could do these things this year, it would be pretty epic.
Wow.
So, okay, in terms of having it all, so it starts with the root of the vision and like really committing and deciding together, like from internally in yourself, I'm going to commit to this. What about you, hubby? Okay, great, boom. Now, the journey on getting there. Talk about that. So talk about the things that you have to tell yourself to overcome obstacles in an adventure you've never experienced yourself. Like how do you prep yourself for a journey or a new level you've never achieved yourself?
First of all, I feel like it's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Almost always, for me, it's like I call it a leap from one frequency to the next.
Yeah.
Like I've been prepared at this one. I can autopilot here, and the minute I lose that creative buzz that comes from that, I know it's time to leap. And so
Elevation. I love this.
So I would say one, I think I'm paying attention to that. I use energy. It might also be religious and like you might say Jesus is telling me or the Holy Spirit or whatever. But I find like no matter what you want to call it, I feel like it's an energy. Like I can feel and I just know. I am empathic, so that doesn't help. Right? Because it's like, oh no, change is coming. I can feel it. But I would say, him and I come together, we talk, and then we just roll. And I think it's also been years and years of tucking one victory on top of another victory on top of another, that we're at a place like I can't always figure it out. And I have other girlfriends that I lean into that really will help me to elevate to the next thing. But I would say definitely it comes from just doing. And I don't mean like a pushing through kind of doing. I just mean like sometimes it is out of obedience. Like, okay, my next step is this. Currently, we're building an incredible home and it's mind-blowing to me. Like the details, the dollar amount, like all of it. And being in a place of allowance of like, hey, you've worked hard, you've built wealth, your wealth that you've generated is now could pay your bills. And that's really, where we wanted to be was where we had our main stream of income, but then we have these other streams of income coming in. And so that would cover should anything ever happen to the mainstream, right? And so it's just that leap of like, okay, that's there in place. So now I'm in a place of allowance. As a queen, I need my castle.
Of course.
But I don't know until this year if I was open to that. Does that make sense? So this has been my big leap in this year is like being in a place of allowance to allow in that I don't have to work hard for it. I already did. And that's a new place I'm sitting right now. So
You don't have to work hard for it. You already did.
Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Hey, Gina, can you tell our audience on where they can find you, what website and social media handles they can find you at?
The best place to find me is on Facebook, Gina Echols. I'm sure we could put a link in the chat. That's a lot to spell.
Is that your business or?
Yep, that's the best place to find me.
Okay, cool. Awesome, guys. Thanks for watching another episode of Empower Her. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.